There is too much beauty in this world to give up on it yet. And it's always too soon to surrender to cynicism. Bring your doubt, your skepticism, your downright confusion, even your bitterness. But in the midst of all of these, in the center, wrap your tender fingers around that still bright thread of hope. Feel in your heart that still steady hunger for something more, the vision we glimpse every day in the rising sun across the foothills, the light that spreads across the face of the one we love, the look of knowing all there is to know, and still loving life, loving us, just as it is, just as we are. For this hour, we come to celebrate, to praise, to give thanks, to refuse to give up, to steady ourselves, keepers of hope, brave builders of this still possible world. Come, let us worship together.
We gather in uncertain times. We face a challenge to democracy, a challenge that calls us to hope when despair would be easier, a challenge that asks us to persist in faith that we can and must make a difference. As we light this flame, may it recommit us to truth in our words and our actions, that we may live as we believe all people should live.
This morning's reading is by author, activist, and farmer Wendell Berry. In a 1969 collection of essays against the Vietnam War, he wrote, "Wars have never made peace, or preserved it, or fostered its ideals. To have peace, you must make peace with your enemy. To make peace only with your friends is to avoid the issue, and to permit a great principle to become absurd. Far from making peace, wars invariably serve as classrooms and laboratories where people and techniques and states of mind are prepared for the next war. Authentic peace is no more passive than war. Like war, it calls for discipline and intelligence and strength of character, though it also calls for higher principles and aims. If we are serious about peace, then we must work for it, ardently, seriously, continuously, carefully, and bravely, as we have ever prepared for war."
Let us turn our thoughts today to Martin Luther King and recognize that there are ties between us. All men and women living on the earth, ties of hope and love, of sister and brother. That we are bound together in our desire to see the world become a place in which our
Thank you so much for that gorgeous music. Feels perfect leading into a sermon on democracy on this MLK weekend. We're in a rough place here on this land, Turtle Island, so-called United States. I want to share with you first a little bit about me. Grew up on the South Shore. I'm the child of 2 public school teachers, and my parents were split politically. Throughout my childhood, one parent voted consistently Republican, and the other parent voted consistently Democrat. And so I was raised to believe that both parties were completely valid, had interesting and important ideals. In 5th grade, I remember asking my older brother, what am I? What do you think I am? He looked at me and he said, I think you're probably like Mom. You're probably a Democrat. But I remember striving and trying to figure out what it was that my father so loved about the Republican Party. And I can say more on that if you want to at coffee hour. But where we are now is we are a nation that has democratically elected an authoritarian twice. And the way this lands on me, just like it did in 2016, is I'm the kind of person who runs towards a problem. I'm like, all right, let's go. We ride at dawn. We got to get going. Grab your weapon of choice. And that's been rough. I feel like this round, I've really had to level up, especially so that I'm not trying to pour from an empty cup. I've had to make sure that I am full before I can give to others. In this phase of soul searching and trying to make sense of the moment, in this new accelerated phase of the American empire, I have found myself putting my mind towards the native people of this land. They have, after all, been running this race for 500 years. And in particular, I want to share with you the words from a song with Lyla June that I cannot stop returning to. If you don't know Lyla June, she's an Indigenous musician, scholar, community organizer, and she is of Dene, Cheyenne, and European lineages. And her voice intros the song with these spoken words. In our old societies, the greatest honor and bravery was bestowed to those who gave their lives, not those who took lives. In what ways might we give our lives to this war? In what ways might we dedicate our time and energy to the children, the women, the elders? Yes, it is a battle of sorts, but not one of physical might. No, this is a battle of spiritual fortitude, where the deepest love and compassion are the only source of true and lasting victory. There will be no winning in a game where even one person loses. The only victory comes from lifting up all beings, all relations, and the only weapons we may use are truth, faith, and love. Gets me every time. These 9 sentences have layers and layers of meaning for me. The first is the energetic difference she draws between giving versus taking. Now, I come from an organizing background, primarily on the environment and climate, before coming to UU Mass Action. I was working on campaigns to fight the oil companies, fight the gas companies, fight the toxic companies, and these days we've added to that list the billionaires, the oligarchs, the would-be kings. It's exhausting, right? To always have this like fighting stance, like come at me, right? What would it look like? What would it feel like to, instead of having a fighting stance, what if I invited us all to have a healing, loving orientation? It's almost awkward to say that in many activism spaces. I remember noticing this stuckness on fighting most clearly at the height of the pandemic, an actual literal illness. And all of the propaganda was like, we have to fight COVID. I was like, couldn't we try to be healing it? Like, could we try that part? Maybe we wouldn't be so collectively traumatized. What would it look like if we ran campaigns to heal the climate, heal the oil companies, heal the gas companies of their greed, sickness, heal the billionaires, oligarchs, would-be kings of their power, sickness? Maybe that's what trauma-informed activism looks like. This orientation reminds me of a story from the Algonquian culture, which is most of the Northeast and some of the Midwest, called the Wendigo. Anybody ever heard of a Wendigo? A couple hands. So a Wendigo is a creature or evil spirit who may possess you. And when it possesses you, it causes its victims a feeling of insatiable hunger. Eat, 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 more, 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 never enough, even to the point of eating other humans. I've heard it said that when European settlers, let's be real, my ancestors, came to Turtle Island, some of the native people looked at them and thought, oh, these people don't seem like they're in a great shape. Perhaps they are possessed by a Wendigo. Last year, around this time, I took myself down to the federal building in City Hall Plaza. It was one of the kind of early, emergent, messy, unorganized rallies. And it was around the time that Elon Musk was staging his data coup. It was kind of a messy crowd milling about. But someone started a chant, and it quickly caught on. The chant was, lock him up, lock him up. And my heart, it sank a little bit. I thought to myself, is that what we're going to be? Revengey? Do back to them what they did to us? Punishment style? Can we not be different? Have higher aims and principles? I mused to myself, what would happen if I tried to start a chant that went, mandatory therapy, mandatory therapy? Right? Oh, I really should have tried it. I regret that a little bit. Now, I want to be clear, we have to be cautious about who we say needs therapy, who's sick, and who needs healing. These frameworks have been used toxically against queer people, Native people. But Lyla June goes on. She says, there will be no winning in a game where even one person loses. Whew, that's a tall order. Everybody's got to be on the winning end of the equation. On the progressive left, we often use the buzzword collective liberation. But we throw it around as if it's like something easy, right? That we're all just kind of working towards. But she makes it really clear. The only victory comes from lifting up all beings, all relations. And that means everybody. Like even the dictators, even the oppressors, the abusers, not even one person loses. That's a really gorgeous, multicultural, deep democracy. And I kind of love it. Now, obviously, not everybody is on the same team working towards that vision. Author and scholar Sir John Glubb, he studied 13 empires of the past in the Middle East, in Asia, in Europe, and he documents a startlingly clear pattern of empire decline after 250 years. Exactly. That is our anniversary this July 4th, if you didn't know. We are arriving at 250. And he describes very clearly in this 250 years an arc. There's 6 stages. And the last one is called the Age of Decadence, where wealth and power have led to petty and negative behaviors, things like narcissism, consumerism, materialism, nihilism, fanaticism. People worship the athletes and the actors and the singers. Sound familiar? Yeah. This moment we are in, it's happened before. Many times, in fact. Empires have risen and fallen throughout history. It's both new, because it's here in this particular moment, and entirely not new. And so we have an opportunity to transform. I'm on Team Democracy. Anybody else here on Team Democracy? I thought so. Thought I might find a few here. Because yes, it is a battle of sorts, but not one of physical might. No, this is a battle of spiritual fortitude. This always brings to mind another civil rights activist and leader, Bayard Rustin, who worked side by side with Martin Luther King in many of the big moments of the civil rights movement. He said, particularly about the sheriff in Birmingham, loving your enemy is manifest in putting your arms not around the man, but around the social situation, to take power from those who misuse it, at which point they and their children become human too. When I think about ICE agents, for example, I'm not trying to hug an ICE agent, not trying to put my arms around that, but I am trying to build power and put my arms around this social situation to take enough power that we can abolish ICE, at which point those people and their children and all of us will feel more human. Now, to win back our democracy, researchers say we need at least 5% of the population engaged in sustained action if we want to for sure win. Now, I was Googling for Swampscott. It's about 15,000 people. Anybody want to do the math? What's 5% of 15,000? Say it louder. 750. Does that feel doable? It's not that much. And so I remind you that Lyla June closes with the words, "The only weapons we may use are truth, faith, and love." Which is, to be clear, doesn't mean that all 750 of those people need to be at the town standout or be at protests. That is sometimes the most visible form of resistance. But any way that you are bringing truth, faith, and love into this world is adding to the movement and helping our democracy with spiritual fortitude. And so I just invite you, pick your weapon of choice truth, faith, or love, because we ride at dawn.